Hey everyone, Dominic the Primetime Treasure Hunter here. Thanks for coming by. Check out another video. In this video, we are going to cover the top 10 most expensive items that sold in my eBay store for the month of June 2020. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to share my screen with you here, and we will start off at number 10. This is the Dark Shadows interview book. And if you remember, I sourced this one at the Magician's estate sale. There were lots of great items in that house in addition to magic and circus items. This was one of them. I was so excited when I came across this in a room that, as I best remember it, it looked like a laundry type of room. It was a little side storage room once you walked into the house from the garage, and everyone was just walking by it for hours. So I walked in there and there were all these boxes filled with books, and I just started digging in them and just pulling every single one of the boxes out. And one of them I opened up had all these Dark Shadows books in it. I couldn't believe it. And the reason why is because I know Dark Shadows books from the vintage series just has great value. There's not a lot of it that's still around, actually. And it is a really popular series that has a strong cult following. It is one of my favorite shows. Even though it's technically considered a soap opera, it really plays out like an amazing drama, and it's got a vampire in it, and this is one of the best vampires of all time. Barnabas Collins right there. I mean, just a great face for the role, played by this guy right here, Jonathan Frid, one of my favorite actors. So if you ever see anything with Barnabas Collins on it, definitely make sure you're looking into it. And I'm talking the vintage, not the modern Johnny Depp stuff that they did, the remake. No, go back, check out the vintage stuff. Now, you know, Jonathan Frid gets a lot of credit, and deservedly so, for how popular this show was. But the casting in that show is absolutely incredible. If you go back and watch that, I mean, it's just amazing. I have every single episode on DVD. You could get them in a cool, like, coffin-shaped package and everything. It's really cool. So if you've never watched it before, I highly suggest going back and looking at it. And just a little trivia little thing here. A lot of people don't realize this, but the show Dark Shadows actually did not start with Barnabas Collins in it. There were lots and lots of episodes before he arrived that did not have anything to do with the vampire. And, you know, the people who were making the show said, yeah, this show's missing something. You know, we need to spice it up somehow. And they came up with the idea, let's add a vampire into it. And they did, and the rest is history. So $50 on this one. I'm well into, you know, profit on that Magician's house. I got everything at that Magician's house for $100 on the first day, and then the next day, if you remember, everything was free. So this is just, you know, anything from there is just great. And I've got a few other Dark Shadows books from the 80s and some from the early 90s in my store right now. For the 90s ones, you know, sometimes you know, they might not go more than like 25 bucks, but, you know, I have one right now that's like $70. It's listed for like 70 bucks, and it's got like 3-4 watches or something. So some could even go higher than the $50 price range. But anything Dark Shadows vintage, check it out. Okay, number 9. The Symphony throw blanket. I sourced this recently at an estate sale. It's one of these things that was hidden, in the sense that it was out in plain view, it was out in plain sight for everybody, but hidden in the sense that it was crumpled up and folded. And so you can only see like a little bit of it. And the only thing that was showing when I got there were the letters SYM, and everything else you had to kind of, you know, open the whole thing up to see it. Keep that in mind with throw blankets. They're rarely going to be spread out like you see here. You've got to open them up to get a full appreciation of what's there. You know, you might get a little clue. You might see, like, you know, on a Santa one, you might see Santa Claus's beard or something, or, you know, SYM, you might reason that that's, you know, Symphony or something like it. And sure enough, you know, you open it up and here's all these instruments. So this is something that would appeal to someone who either plays instruments and or has a real appreciation for classical music, you know, these types of concerts and stuff like that. And, you know, got it for just a few bucks and wound up selling to a viewer, Marcia, from the Red Cardinal Treasures YouTube channel. So thank you very much, Marcia. I'm going to show your not your store, your YouTube channel here, so people could come by and say hello to you. As you can see, I am subscribed, so come on by and subscribe to Marcia and give her some love. Tell her that the Primetime Treasure Hunter sent you over there. So hopefully that helps you out a little bit. She's been a friend of the channel for a long time, so I always like to support people who support me as well. So thank you again. Thank you. This one here, so number 8, this is the GNC Pets 300 chewable tablets. It's for hip and joint help for senior dogs. And it's sold for $65 because of how many pills are in there and because it's new and sealed. I will only sell these types of products if they are new and sealed. I talked about these pet products about a month ago when I was doing a vlog video. So if you want to go back and learn a little bit more about that and see some of the other stuff that I sourced, but I really have nothing into this. And so $65 on this is great. And I believe it probably still fit in first class. So, I mean, it's just a great type of item. You could see there's the seal. Show the back, show the ingredients, show what's in it. And also make sure you show the expiration date or the best by date. Don't be someone who tries to hide it by putting a sticker over it. That's one of the oldest tricks in the book. You don't want to get a reputation for doing that. People will put that in, in the comment section for your feedback. Definitely a big no-no. In terms of selling things that are past their expiration date or best by date, I just personally wouldn't do it. You're also not supposed to do that per eBay's policy for food items and dietary items like this. It's just something you're not supposed to do. Now that's separate from something like printer ink, where sometimes people will sell those past the expiration date because there are many instances where the printing ink will still actually work. I personally don't do that anymore. I used to do that a little bit when I started out, but then I just decided I didn't want to take the chance that it would be dried out with printing ink. But with this, for sure. And also, don't try to skirt the rules by saying, well, it's technically not an expiration date, it's a best by date. Where do you draw the line then? How many months out do you go? It's best just to stick with the date that's on there, my opinion. This way, your reputation doesn't get damaged, because your reputation is everything when you've got a business. Let's go on to number 7. So this is the Microsoft Intellimouse Explorer, brand new. It's new old stock. I sourced this also recently on an estate sale. It's one of the first that I went back to. So it's in a video not too long ago if you want to go back and check it out. But I love going into offices in homes because they're little hidden treasure areas. A lot of people don't realize it, but a lot of the stuff in there is really valuable. And the good thing about it is it's the type of stuff that, although it's valuable, that estate sale dealers tend to undervalue, and people run garage sales and flea markets. They tend to undervalue these types of items because they don't view them as collectible. They don't view them as something really interesting, like it doesn't have a popular character on it or anything like that. It's like, okay, well, it's a mouse. Well, guess what? The person who used to have that mouse many, many years ago, whose mouse broke and wants to replace it and would love to have the added comfort of knowing that this one works because it's new and sealed, will pay up for that, up to the tune of $75, which is what this one sold for. So great return on investment with that item. Definitely be on the lookout for these types of pieces. This is the inflatable Morty Moose item. Now, this comes from the TV show Northern Exposure. If you don't know, in the introductory credits for that show, there is a moose that shows up who became very popular and became known as Morty the Moose. And so he has kind of a cult following. This comes from the Beer Collectors estate sale video that I did recently. You can see here that it is sealed in the package and it's in the box. The box is open, but the package is sealed. So now there's a situation I've got here, right? Which is, well, I want to be able to show people the moose, but I don't want to take it out of the package because that's going to significantly decrease the value. Because think about it. If you're going to buy something like an inflatable, something as, fragile as an inflatable, not that fragile in the sense that it could break, but these things can get little holes in them. They get tears in them very easily. You want the buyer to feel assured that that's not going to happen when they purchase it. And so keeping it new and sealed is real important if that's how you have it. So then how do you show a picture of it? Which is also important, by the way, because if you think about it, when someone's scrolling through the listings, what do you think is going to give a greater chance they're going to stop and take a look? If they see this image, or if they see this white box or this, plastic packaging? This obviously is going to give a greater chance they're going to stop. So what you could do in this situation is you could do a Google search, try and find the image. And if you could find the image, you could try to get in touch with the person who took a picture of this. This actually came from like an OfferUp ad somewhere. And you can ask that person permission to use the photo in your own listing. Or if you can't get permission, you could take that image and use it. Now, some people are probably shaking their head on that because say, well, you're not really supposed to do that because it's not really your photo. Technically, that's true, but in this instance, I think it's kind of like it's like a little, I think, a little forgivable little thing that most people are not going to really come down on you hard for. And it's kind of an understandable thing to do in this specific situation. At least that's how I rationalize it. Now, it's interesting that this topic comes up because in my Facebook group today, someone asked, is it okay to take someone else's photos and use them in your own eBay listing? And generally, my answer to that is that it's not good form and that you should ask permission to do that. But in those situations, I'm bringing that up because that question tends to be asked in which someone's just lazy and doesn't want to take their own photos. That's not the case here. This is one where I literally do not have a way to show someone what the item looks like. Now, in this instance, what I would suggest is just to be careful and make sure that you state, and you could see me here state this, important, the first picture is included to show you what it looks like. I cannot show you the exact item in the box because this item is actually new and sealed in the original bag. Without being able to show someone what it looks like, I really don't know how else you could really sell it. And again, you don't want to open it. So it puts you in kind of a weird situation like this. Now, this was not, by the way, an existing eBay listing. That would be a totally different situation, which you should not do. But if it's an old, picture, an old image somewhere, it's more understandable, I would say, again, to use it. So anyway, that's just to explain because I know some people probably have some questions about it. But 75 bucks on this one. I'm happy with that sale. So that's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Let's go to number 5. This one here is Film Fun Magazine, December 1934. You may remember me sourcing this recently at the barn pole sale. That one was a lot of fun because that was the one where I found a lot of old photos and a lot of old comic books, and this was in the mix. Now, when I first found this, at the time that I did the video, I was really, really excited because if this is complete, this one could sell for between $200 to $400. I mean, it's how amazing this item is. Turns out this one was actually incomplete, but we'll talk about that more in a moment. But this is Dorothy Lee, famous actress, and this is a painted image by Enoch Bowles, B-O-L-E-S. He's a very famous pinup girl artist, and so people really like his work. This one in particular is very popular because it has the motorcycle theme there. It has the sexy blonde on the on the motorcycle with the leather gloves and the leather boots and the police officer outfit and the hat and everything, and just the look on her face. This is something that so many guys would want to hang up. It's just, and it's even like motion associated with it. You can see the air flowing through. Just a great piece. In fact, reproductions of this sell. So if you ever came across a reproduction, that will go well too. But there's nothing like the original. So even though this had damage and it actually had 34 pages missing from it out of 64, you could see that here. Originally I had typed 12, but then I kept adding and said, oops, there's actually 34 missing. I couldn't correct it on top here because there already was a bid. So I had to do an update down here and say there's 30 pages missing or 34. Oh, sorry, I misspoke. There's 30 pages missing, so there's 34 of the original 64. So that's how we get the 30. So yeah, bottom line, there's a lot of pages missing. So I wasn't sure exactly what to put on a price for this because how do you comp something that's missing that many pages? You really can't. So it's a good situation to do an auction, and that's what I did. Got 13 bids, sold for $77. So absolutely amazing. Very, very happy with that, given the state of the item with all those pages missing and some of the damage on the cover. All right. moving on to the next item. This is the Iowa Walkman that I sold, and I sold it for the price you see there, $100. I wound up getting that at the same estate sale that you saw me get this one at. So that was about a month and a half ago. One of the things that I know about electronics is that Iowa is a great brand to get. Now, keep in mind, this is acquired knowledge. This isn't something that I was just born with that I knew. And, electronics wasn't something that I always sold. But now, just off the top of my head, I don't even have to look it up. When I come across any electronic item that's Iowa, I just know this is something that, you definitely should look into. Now, I did check the comps just to see regarding this particular model, which, by the way, on a lot of the Walkman, the model is hidden under the belt clip. So you've got to remove the belt clip. Sometimes you'll need a screw to do that depending on the brand. This one you didn't. Just push it off, and right over there, you can see there's the model number. I looked it up, and there was no one else who had this available, no one who sold it recently. So I knew there was probably a few people out there who were looking for this. So I priced it at $100, which is pretty darn good for a Walkman, and it sold for that exact price after a few weeks. So excited about that sale right there. Always look for Walkman in general. Not all Walkmen are going to sell, by the way, if it's a really cheap brand, and you could tell sometimes from feeling it. Look at the brand name on it. But in general, vintage Walkmen that are made by a decent company, you get some pretty good coin off of that. So next one here would be number 3, and I want to thank Pam Lambros for purchasing this one for me. She goes by Flipping Hot Finds over on Instagram, so give her a shout out as well. You could see here, this is 6 vintage new and sealed DC Comics posters. This is one of the rare instances where I did some retail arbitrage. I found the store that was just blowing these out for like a few bucks a piece, so I picked up 27 of them. Now, some of the ones that I sold here to Pam, some of these were the only ones available, but some of these I still have additional ones of. So if you're interested in them, let me know, and I show them in a prior video in which I go over all the different types that I had. But $110, so I really thank Pam for the purchase on this one. This is just an example of things that you could find out there. You don't always have to go to a thrift store. You don't always have to go to a garage sale. Sometimes there could be things marked on clearance in just a regular common store that you go to every day, and there it is. You got something that you could list in your eBay business and make a profit on. Number 2, this is another one of these pet items here. So this is the Sport Dog Wetland Hunter 425X Camo Dog, 500 yard remote training collar. So very happy on this one. Anything that has any kind of like hunting theme related to it, especially if it's related to a pet, if it's an electronic, if it's camouflaged, things that help with training. These things are very popular pet related types of items. This is a good brand, Sport Dog. This one is new. The package was open a little bit, but the actual items in there are new. So this one sold, I took a best offer, $105. So, pet supplies is definitely something I'm getting more into, and you're going to see more of that type of stuff available in my store. So that leads us to the last and final item here. Do a little kind of a recap and a little bit of a drum roll as we move up to our last and final item, which is this one here. This is the vintage Porter Cable Gild Tooth Sander. And if you ever see this where it says Porter Cable on it like that, that's just right there, dead giveaway, vintage type of item. Very hard to find this in the original metal case, as you could see there. So I did have to clean it up a little bit because it was dirty. I found this at an estate sale. Again, got this for practically nothing. I mean, if you go back and you look at that estate sale where I sourced this, and you see how much I got everything from, I think I got everything at the house that day for like $35 or something like this. So this one sold for $150. You plug in one of these bad boys and you will just feel the power coming out of it. I mean, it is just amazing. They do not make sanders like this anymore. And that's exactly why people will still buy these. You have to look past some of the dirt and the grime, and there might be some left over, some scratch marks, some rust marks. I mean, look at that. There's just going to be some leftover. Don't let that be a reason why you don't purchase something like this. And if you look at this really packed up very nicely into a nice rectangular box. So very, very easy to ship this type of thing. You just put some bubble wrap over it and then off it goes. You know, of course, you know, this was tested out. If there's anything you could add to it, do that. So you could see there was some sanding paper. That was definitely something that increased the value of it because it's hard to find replacement sanding belts for these types of things. And then you could see a hand sander down there that I included as well. So very happy overall with the 10 sales this past month. Thought that that would be good to share with everybody, just to give them some, just to give everyone watching some good ideas, again, of things to source when you're out there in the field. So hopefully that helped. If so, make sure you give the video a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you are new, and welcome if you are. Make sure that you leave a comment or a question down below. I always love to hear what your favorite item was. Make sure you come by my Facebook group, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center. Don't miss my live show tomorrow night, or it might be tonight if you are watching this on Wednesday, July 8th. So it's 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are going to be talking about getting through adversity, and significant adversity, adversity that can affect your reselling business. Now, that could be adversity that is personal, that maybe not business related, but spills into your reselling business. So we're just going to talk about that, and I'll do general Q&A as well whenever that video airs tomorrow night. It's going to be 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you come on by and check it out. Look forward to seeing you there. And also follow me on Instagram at prime_time_treasure. I'll see you back at the next video, everyone. Take care.